Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolf, alongside a very happy Nick Wright, who did a lot of good predicting last night. Brandon Marshall's very unhappy that Kevin Wildes is not wearing a tie. We have now gone through the line. You know what's going on in everybody's mind this morning. We have a jam-packed show. The World Series last night was awesome. There's some fantastic rumors going around the NFL.
Good morning, Nick.
Let's get to all of it.
Morning,
starting with what is happening or not happening in Dallas, Texas. Things are going from bad to worse out there. I mean, what's worse than a 2-4 record, a terrible defense, and Dak gone for the year? How about losing your team? Anonymous Cowboys players are reportedly saying Mike McCarthy's coaching staff is, quote, totally unprepared, and they just aren't good at their jobs. It is a sharp cut at Mike McCarthy, who was asked yesterday about some of his players not buying in. Take a listen.
And I just really go back to my first meeting with the football team. I've always stated this to every team that I've coached. I think it's important to handle things as men. I mean, if you do have something to say publicly that is of most importance, I think it's important to say it to the individual. Particularly in a group dynamic setting, and especially in the game of football, especially for the Dallas Cowboys.
So, Brandon, are you surprised that Cowboys players are anonymously ripping Mike McCarthy and his coaching staff? Dissension among the ranks, it seems like. Does any of this surprise you, Brandon?
I'm not surprised, and now we're seeing why they're not making the changes necessary to get this team back on track, because they're not on the same page and they don't believe. And let's clarify this. It's not players. It's defensive players. This offense is fine. They can control some of these mistakes they're making on the turnover side. Before Dak went down, they were averaging 509 yards a game. So let's be clear there. This is the defensive side. And we call these small groups in the locker room. They're infectious. They break down the integrity of what you're trying to do, and then they creep in, and then it just breaks down everything you're doing. And now you see, where teams start to really fold and lose game after game after game. This is trash. But here's the deal. If you want to fix this, all you got to do is adopt what they do in Seattle with Coach Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has this thing where he says, it's Tell the Truth Monday. Anybody in the organization, the day after the game, can come in front of the team meeting room and say whatever is on your mind, whatever it is that you want to say. And why does he do that? Because what he doesn't want to have happen is someone sitting in the cafeteria or in the locker room or in the jacuzzi, in the cold tub, talking about, did you see that play that coach called? Did you see what they did on this play? Or why would they have us blitz in this situation? So what coach does is he has everyone in the building say, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it right now. Because if you go in that locker room, it's going to break down the integrity of this team. And what ended up happening is nobody comes up there, because it's so embedded in their culture that we don't do this, that it's like a comic show. It's a time for them to pick on everyone else. Everyone knows, like, if you have something to say, you go to that guy. If you have something to say, you don't go in the media.
Brandon, I'm about to do a little Tell the Truth Wednesday. Whoever these anonymous quotes from, these players should be embarrassed. Listen, the coaching staff might stink. Mike Nolan might need to be fired. Mike McCarthy maybe reached his Peter principle in Green Bay, and this isn't going to work out. I don't know the answers to those questions yet, but I know this. It's not a coach that made Michael Gallup drop the ball in the end zone, and that's the offensive side of the ball. It's not coaching that has made Ezekiel Elliott the most fumblingest fumbler this side of Daniel Jones in the NFL over this season. And it's not the coach's fault that guys are breaking down the most basic defensive principles. Now, maybe those defensive principles stink, but some of that's on the players. And for a team that has repeatedly shot itself in the foot to go to the media and say it's Smith & Wesson's fault is embarrassing. So it is. That's right. I'm not giving the coaches a pass, but it is better coaching would not fix the Dallas Cowboys in their totality. And so I think these folks, these players, are looking for excuses to make Wildes, and I think they should be embarrassed.
No, I totally disagree with you, Nick, and I disagree with you too, Brandon. And look, we know that there's leaks in the Dallas Cowboys locker room. We know that there's people going to the media. And I think Mike McCarthy and the coaching staff can only trust two people. One of them, Ezekiel Elliott, who after those 2 fumbles just straight up said, hey, this loss is on me. The other one, in a wild turn of events, Xavier Woods. The guy tells the truth. He's just straight up out there saying, you know what? I can't try my hardest the whole game. So we know it wasn't Xavier Woods and we know it wasn't Zeke, but everybody else is on notice, Jenna.
All right, listen, we got to talk about, because of all this, the elephant in the room. We've seen 2 coaches already let go this season, right? We saw Bill O'Brien in Houston. We saw Dan Quinn most recently in Atlanta. I have to ask, Brandon, should Mike McCarthy be on the hot seat already in Dallas now?
What is that?
No, you fix the defensive side. That's what it comes down to. Like we said on the last topic, this is not an issue for the entire team. This is an issue for the defensive side. They're playing so bad. They're looking for any excuse that they can lean on to deflect what they're doing wrong. Like this defense, they can't do a simple task when it comes to cover 3. When you're in Pop Warner, you learn how to play cover 3. You know how to play quarters. You know if you're the backside corner and you have nobody in your zone, you go to the post because that's the biggest threat. And if you turn on film, you'll see these players make mistake after mistake after mistake on the defensive side. You're also seeing effort issues. Before it was like, well, maybe this kid just misspoke. But if you turn on the last game, you'll see their captains jogging, look like they're running in concrete, in sand. So when you look at this situation, as a whole, it comes down to the defensive side. For me, Coach McCarthy can easily get this fixed, but he's going to have to be tough. He's going to have to stand in front of that team and tell these guys, this is how we're going to do things. Come be a man and say it now. I've been in those locker rooms before where we had these situations, and I saw, coaches stand in front, Coach Shanahan, Lovie Smith, say, this is how we're going to operate, guys. Anybody else that want to do anything differently, you can hit the door.
It's just, listen, there's been one coach my entire life watching the NFL that after 6 games with the team, you were like, oh, he should be fired. And that guy is Freddie Kitchens. Sorry, Freddie. We knew he was promoted above his skis, and you knew almost instantly, well, that's not going to work. Mike McCarthy's a known quantity for good or for bad. You don't hire a coach after he's been a head coach in this league for a decade, give him 6 games and no offseason, and be like, well, that was a mistake. And so I would argue, Wilds, that if people want to say Mike McCarthy was the wrong hire, fine. If people want to say this is going to end poorly, fine. But even discussing firing him after less than 40% of his first season, I think is insane. So, no, I do not think he should be on the hot seat already.
So the problem is this. The human brain likes singular solutions. Like, this is why something went wrong. Even though it's not the way the real world works, it's like, oh, Steve Jobs was a genius, and that's why it all worked. Of course, that's not the answer. So if Mike, and I know there's a ton of problems in Dallas, and now people are trying to say, oh, it's just the turnovers. Well, we did the math. They gave up 218 points, 84 off turnovers. If you take those all away, this is a total manipulation of the stats. They got 134 points that they've given up. And guess what? That's still not that great. So then you got to either get rid of Nolan, promote George Edwards, who you like. You got to do something, because if there's a ton of issues, the singular issue is going to be, Jenna, Mike McCarthy. Someone's going to be like, I need a singular issue. It's the coach.
And it will be the head coach. All right, next up for Dallas, they got Washington on Sunday. Hey, Wilds, what time is it in Miami this morning?
Dame time.
Okay. It's also Tua time, and took all the air out of that.